We were a normal family. Sunday dinners, church on Sundays. Mom made pot roast, Dad told bad jokes. We argued about football. Life was simple. Then came 2016. Trump announced his candidacy. Mom loved him, Dad was wary. My brother and I, we were Democrats. We thought it was a joke. We were wrong. Mom started watching Fox News. She'd repeat things she heard, things about immigrants, things about Muslims, things that made us uncomfortable. She wasn't our mom anymore. Then came the MAGA hat. She wore it everywhere. To church, to the grocery store. Even to my brother's wedding. It was like she wanted to fight, and she did, with anyone who disagreed. Every conversation became a battle. It was as if we were living in a war zone, but instead of physical weapons, words were our ammunition. The dinner table, once a place of laughter and bonding, had turned into a battlefield where every topic was a potential landmine. Healthcare, climate change, gun control. No matter the subject, it always ended in raised voices and hurt feelings. The divide was palpable, and it seemed like there was no bridge long enough to span the chasm that had formed between us. She'd call us liberal sheep. Her words stung, not just because of their harshness, but because they came from someone we loved. It was as if she had been replaced by a stranger who saw us as enemies rather than family. Said we were brainwashed by fake news. The irony was painful. She was the one who seemed to be under a spell, entranced by the constant stream of misinformation that filled her social media feeds and news channels. We tried to reason with her, it was useless. Every fact we presented was met with skepticism, every attempt at dialogue shut down with a dismissive wave of her hand. It felt like we were speaking different languages, each incomprehensible to the other. She believed everything Trump said. His words were gospel to her, unquestionable and absolute. It was as if he had a direct line to her heart, bypassing all logic and reason. Every lie, every insult. She absorbed them all, defending him with a fervor that was both baffling and heartbreaking. It was like watching someone you love fall into a cult, powerless to pull them back. It was like he had a spell on her, and she wasn't alone. Our aunts, uncles, cousins, they all fell under his spell. The ripple effect was devastating. What was once a close-knit family was now a collection of factions, each suspicious of the other. They all fell under his spell. Families were torn apart. The bonds that had held us together for generations were fraying, and it felt like there was nothing we could do to stop it. The pain of seeing our family disintegrate was almost too much to bear. We longed for the days when we could sit together, share a meal, and simply enjoy each other's company without the shadow of politics looming over us. But those days seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a new reality where every interaction was fraught with tension and mistrust. The question that haunted us was simple yet profound. Would we ever find our way back to each other? Thanksgiving 2019. It was supposed to be a time of joy, a time to come together and celebrate the blessings of the year. The table was set beautifully, adorned with autumn leaves and candles, the aroma of roasted turkey filling the air. We had all gathered, hoping for a peaceful evening. We knew it was going to be bad. The tension had been building for months, ever since the last family gathering where political differences had started to surface. We had hoped that this time would be different, that we could put aside our differences for one night. We just didn't know how bad. The first few minutes were filled with polite conversation, but it didn't take long for the underlying tensions to bubble up to the surface. A single comment was all it took to ignite the fire. It started with a comment about immigration, then it escalated. Voices were raised, insults were hurled. My dad stormed out, my brother followed, I stayed. The room was filled with a palpable sense of anger and frustration. It was as if years of unresolved issues had come crashing down all at once. I tried to talk to her, to understand. I wanted to bridge the gap, to find some common ground. I asked her why she felt the way she did, hoping for a moment of clarity, a chance to connect on a deeper level. But there was no reasoning. Every attempt I made to understand was met with resistance. She was entrenched in her beliefs, unwilling to see another perspective. It was like talking to a wall, every word bouncing back at me with even more force. She was too far gone. The person I once knew, the one who used to listen and engage in thoughtful conversation, seemed to have disappeared. In her place was someone I barely recognized, someone consumed by anger and resentment. That night I didn't sleep, I cried. The weight of the evening's events pressed down on me, making it impossible to find any peace. I replayed the argument over and over in my mind, wondering if there was something I could have said or done differently. The tears flowed freely. a release of all the pent-up emotions that had been building for so long. As I looked out the window into the dark night, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of loss. The family I once knew seemed to be slipping away, replaced by a fractured group of individuals, each holding onto their own pain and anger. Thanksgiving, a time meant for gratitude and togetherness, had turned into a night of sorrow and division. And as the first light of dawn began to break, I knew that things would never be the same again. January 6th. We all watched in horror, the Capitol under siege, fueled by Trump's lies. Mom defended it, said they were patriots. That was the breaking point. Something inside me snapped. I couldn't stay silent. I told her she was wrong, that Trump was dangerous, that she was being manipulated. We argued for hours. It was the worst fight we'd ever had. We knew we had to do something. The tension in the air was palpable, and the silence that had settled over our home was deafening. We could no longer ignore the elephant in the room. Our family was falling apart. The once warm and lively gatherings had turned into cold, distant affairs. We were drifting away from each other, and it was breaking our hearts. So we staged an intervention. It was our last hope, a desperate attempt to salvage what was left of our family bond. We knew it wouldn't be easy, but we had to try. My brother, my dad, they were the pillars of strength in our family. They had always been the ones to hold us together, and now they were leading this effort. My aunts, uncles, cousins, we all came together to confront her. It was a united front, a show of solidarity and love. We wanted her to know that we were all in this together. We told her how her beliefs had hurt us, how they had created a chasm between us. We shared our pain, our fears, and our hopes for the future, how they had divided our family, how she had changed. We reminisced about the good times, the laughter, and the love that once filled our home. We wanted her to remember who she used to be. We pleaded with her to see reason, to open her mind. We asked her to consider the impact of her actions, not just on herself, but on all of us. We wanted her to understand that her choices were tearing us apart, to be our mom again, to be the loving, caring person we knew she could be. We held on to each other, hoping that our words would reach her heart. We wanted her to know that we still loved her and that we were willing to fight for our family. We shared stories of happier times, of moments that defined us as a family. We laughed and cried together, hoping to rekindle the spark that once united us. We wanted her to see that despite everything, we were still a family. She listened, tears welling up in her eyes. It was clear that our words were having an impact. We could see the conflict in her expression, the struggle between her beliefs and her love for us. We held hands, a symbol of our unity and support. We wanted her to know that she wasn't alone, that we were all here for her. We were ready to help her through this, no matter how difficult it might be. In the end, it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about healing, about finding a way to move forward together. We hugged, a gesture of forgiveness and hope. We knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but we were ready to face it as a family. As we left the house that day, there was a sense of resolution in the air. We had taken the first step towards mending our broken bonds. It was a small step, but it was a start. And sometimes, that's all you need to begin the journey towards healing. At first, she resisted. She got defensive, angry. But we didn't back down. We told her we loved her, that we wanted her back. Slowly, the walls she had built around herself started to crumble. She finally broke down. She cried. She apologized. She admitted that she had been wrong, that she had let her fear and anger cloud her judgment. It was a turning point. Forgiving wasn't easy. The wounds were deep, the scars still remain, but we were determined to heal. As a family, to rebuild what had been broken. We started small. Sunday dinners, phone calls. Slowly we started talking again. Not about politics, but about life, about family, about the things that truly mattered. We learned to agree to disagree, to respect each other's opinions, to find common ground. We realized that family was more important than politics, that love transcended ideology. We still have our differences, we always will, but we've learned to navigate them, to have difficult conversations with empathy and understanding, to listen more than we speak. The healing process is ongoing. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's worth it because family is precious and it's worth fighting for. We've learned that forgiveness is not forgetting, it's choosing to move forward, to build a better future, together, with love, compassion, and understanding. My story is not unique, it's a story playing out in homes across America, families divided by politics. But there is hope. We can choose to come together, to bridge the divide. We can choose love over hate, empathy over judgment, understanding over division. We can choose to be a family again, a nation united. That's the America I believe in.